If you knew me before, you wouldn't even look my way.
And welcome back to Sullivan's Unheard Voices. I'm here with Jesse.
Hey.
First of all, that I follow your music.
Oh,
You got some funky beats and funky stuff going on. Like, how did you get started into the music scene?
so typical kind of story, 13.
Yeah.
You know, something about that age, 13, 14. 8th grade. And I'm going to go all the way back. 8th grade, last period, science class. And I just moved to Sacramento, started this new school, Winston Churchill Middle School, Sacramento. And this guy, Chad Nardine, he was in my science class. And we had no other classes together. It was literally like last period. And I was a skater, so I rode skateboards and stuff. And this guy, Chad, he had this guitar catalog. He always had this guitar catalog on him. So he's always thumbing through that, during class. And one of my skater friends knew him, and he was like, "Oh, hey, you got to meet Chad, man." And Chad's this rocker, Metallica shirt, I mean, the freaking mullet,
Yeah.
God, dude, it's just the 90s. So he's looking at this guitar catalog, and I'm like, "Oh, that's cool, man. You play guitar, huh?" And he's like, "Yeah." Well, the only thing that I really thought about the guitar was, my parents, they both played acoustic guitars.
Yeah.
It really wasn't attractive to me. I didn't really have I don't know. They played, like Neil Young, and my dad is a hardcore country Western guy. It really wasn't appealing to me, ironically. But this guy, Chad, all of a sudden, he's showing me this catalog with like BC Rich guitars and Jackson guitars and, these shredder guitars. And I'm like, whoa, like this is like a whole new world. I'm like, wait, like you actually know how to play one of these? And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, yeah, I can play Metallica. I can play I'm like, no. I'm just like, what? He's like, dude, come over to my house. You got to come over to my house, man. He's like, I'll show you, So he finally talks me into, I go and I skateboard over to his house. It's like miles away. And he takes me into his bedroom, and he's got like this little PV Rage amp.
Yeah.
And all these cool, he had a bunch of DOD guitar pedals, and he had this freaking BC Rich Strat shaped. I think it was I think he had a New Jersey series. He had the NJ series, and it straight up looked like something that you would see, a rock star playing. And I'm just like completely like blown away. And then he starts playing Inner Sandman by Metallica. And I'm like, dude, my 13-year-old mind is like literally like, who is this guy that I just like? We only had one. Literally, like, we almost didn't meet each other.
Yeah.
Because last period, it's like I ditched school a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, it's like actually it was kind of a miracle that I even met this guy, because I didn't really go to last period. And that carried over into high school really badly. But so honestly, like really what opened the whole musical world up was, 13-year-old kid, and I was being introduced to Metallica and Megadeth and Testament and all these shredder bands,
Yeah.
And one of our friends, Justin Rigatini, and I don't even know where this guy is anymore. But me and Justin, we became mutual friends because we had one class together, and it was called ITV, which was a class. I mean, Sacramento, man, pretty progressive back in the 90s. This guy, he started this class at our school teaching us how to do film production.
Ah, okay.
Badass.
Yeah.
It was like it was an absolutely badass class. And we got to do like, we got to make music videos where we had to lip sync, and I mean, it was a blast, dude. It was a total blast. So me and this guy, Justin, same school, right? 8th grade. Well, he was a skater. And so we hooked up because we both skated. And then I introduced him to Chad. So the three of us kind of become the three amigos all of a sudden. And Justin and I start learning the guitar because, well, we're like, dude, Chad's the shit, man.
Yeah.
We both like want to learn guitar now. And Justin just got so freaking good, so freaking fast. It was astonishing to watch.
Yeah.
He got and if he's out there somewhere and he hears this, it's like, I definitely, like, we definitely had a lot of friction between us. We kind of like, eventually we kind of just stopped hanging out with each other because it started to get a little bit toxic. But he got so damn good, so damn fast. He started taking lessons. And then that inspired me. I'm like, oh my God, like he was coming up so fast. I was like, I've got to get lessons, man. And I could only, single mother.
Yeah. Finances dictate you only have certain access.
So luckily the guitar teacher that Justin was going through, he was a really good guy, Bill Rainey. And he agreed to do, two sessions a month. So just bi-weekly, whatever. And, so that was really cool. It gave me enough to where it's like, I was introduced to the modes, musical theory, and that helped me start getting a little bit more of a foothold to where I could start learning some of the stuff that Justin was doing. I mean, Justin was, I want you to understand something, like, this is like way before YouTube, or like before kids were like amazing. Like, now you see these 9-year-olds just doing amazing things. Like, it's beyond, Well, Justin kind of was like one of those prodigies almost, because he got so damn good, so damn fast. He was playing Yngwie at like, 14 and 15. 15 years old, and he's playing Yngwie, and he's doing it well. And he's doing it very well. And I mean, I'm a huge Satriani fan.
Yeah.
And so I got turned on to Satriani, and I really started going down that road. And I think he kind of started, he really liked the Yngwie stuff. Well, because he could do it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if you can do it, it's like you're probably going to you're probably going to drift that way a little bit, And I think there was some attitude that started to really develop, in a negative way, because.
Well, and teenagers too, right?
Dude,
yeah.
And it's like that's. I mean, not to sound weird, but it's like, dude was a powerful force.
Yeah.
And me and Chad knew it. We were just like, dude, like, Justin is like, Justin is destroying it. And we were like, we learned at the same time.
Yeah.
And so anyways, when I first got into playing, from the time I was 13 to 16, living in Sacramento, there was a freaking competitive edge because of that kind of thing was happening all around us. And then what happened was, once Justin reached a certain level, by the time we were 15, 16, and he started to work with other really great musicians. And then we started, being introduced to these other guys that were our age that were just dominators.
Like murderers on stage.
I mean, just crushers. They were just crushing, just crushers. And it was definitely, it was a very tough environment to come up in, because what I would call it is, if you're especially, California, man,
Yeah.
you know,
California in
there's
the
some
90s
attitude.
too, right?
Come on, it's like there's so much attitude. People aren't very nice. There's so much competitive edge that it's not like up here. Oregon, I find people are somewhat agreeable, especially in the music world, man. People are pretty nice. Actually.
I've noticed the same thing.
But that's not the way it is everywhere.
Yeah.
It's actually, people are vicious. People are freaking mean.
And that's unfortunate.
And it is because of the competitive nature, because they think that they can, it's about kind of standing on other people to get ahead. It's that mentality. And I I mean, I started getting jaded at a young age because of that environment. And by the time I was 17, I'd come up here. My dad lives up here in Astoria, and he's lived here since I was like 9. And I came up here one summer. I hung out with my brother and all of his high school friends. He's a year older than me, and one of his friends was a drummer. And I came up here and just partied my ass off. And it was like, wow, man, people are like nice. And they were nice to me. And we started jamming, me and my buddy LG, or my brother's friend originally. We started jamming, and all of a sudden I got people going, dude, you're awesome. And I'm like what? Like, wait, you guys aren't mean to each other up here? I mean, it was like a whole different environment. It's like I came from a place where you have to prove yourself, and you have to prove yourself like right now. They're like people are literally like just waiting for you to fuck up so that they can nail you. And it's like,
that's not healthy.
Oh no, it's
that's
horrible.
Not healthy.
That's why I gravitated up here, because it was like people are more cooperative. It's like there has to be a healthy level of cooperation and competition, I believe. So I know I'm making a very long or short, maybe a short story extremely long.
There's no such thing as a long story on my podcast, so right? You're good.
So yeah, this is called long form storytelling. So basically, what happened was I did come from that metal world. I mean, my first concert, I was 14, freshman in high school. My first concert was at the Arco Arena, watching Suicidal Tendencies open for Megadeth. That was my first concert. I mean, my first concert was being thrown into a mosh pit of dudes that looked like they should be dudes you would run into in prison. And I'm 14 and I'm being thrown like ridiculous, dude. I mean, right. I learned real quick. Like, I don't think the moshing thing is really for me.
Same here. And like the first concert I went to was Pantera.
See?
So same thing, like 16 years old, thrown into a Pantera pit. It was very eye-opening.
I mean, technically I was there to see Megadeth, but Suicidal just
rocked it.
Oh my God. I mean, it was like, and I love Megadeth. I love Dave Mustaine. I love you, Dave. But comparatively, because of Mike Muir's stage presence, I mean, Dave is such a great player, and the fact that he can play and sing and do what he does simultaneously, it's freaking amazing. Because I mean, it's definitely he's got that thing where he can shut this off, and I don't know how they do that, but it's his rhythms and what he's singing. Sometimes it's like I can't do that. I like literally. It's like I don't know how he's doing that, but when it comes to the stage performance, Mike Muir is just all over that stage. You got Robert Trujillo on bass, Rocky George on guitar. I mean, it's like, and their songs are just absolutely slamming. I was literally in awe. I mean, I was like, oh my God, Suicidal Tendencies. Like, I came here to see Megadeth, but now they're my new favorite band. And that was very eye-opening to me, because there was something about Trujillo being on bass, because he's such a funky bass player.
Yeah.
And so now I'm trying to come full circle around to, like, you asked me, how'd you get into music, and why funk?
Yeah.
Right? Well, ultimately, what happened was I was on that path of playing heavy metal and shred guitar, and I was really leaning into that, and because it's like, well, this is kind of like
It's kind of the trajectory that was presented to you at the time, and you were just kind of following what was in front of you.
Exactly. It's like, this seems to be the norm. This seems to be the normal path that all guitar players are taking. So I need to be on this path. And Joe Satriani, ultimately, he's my number one guy.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah.
This guy is up here for a very specific reason, because I do believe in hierarchies, and this guy actually sits at the top of the hierarchy. Yeah. And we can go into that, why. But ultimately, it was guys like Satriani and a lot of the metal guys that I was really, leaning into. And then what happened was, when I eventually moved up here, because I had such a great summer, that I was like, screw it, man. Like, I'm done. I'm done with California. I'm done with the hate. I'm done with, this competitive rat race. And came up here, and I did LSD for the first time. And as traumatic of an experience as that first experience was, good things come out of it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, after that experience, which is no pun intended, all of a sudden I could hear Jimmy. There was something about Hendrix's music that, and I don't know what it was. Maybe because my brain just wasn't developed all the way, or maybe because I leaned into the shred guitar guys so hard that it was like, well, if you don't shred, you suck.
Yeah.
That kind of attitude.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I don't know why, but it's like I couldn't hear Jimmy. Couldn't hear him. I couldn't hear how powerful he really was. And now all of a sudden, I come out of this LSD trip, and my life is completely different. All of a sudden, I can hear Jimmy now, and it was definitely like one of those experiences. It's a life-changing moment.
Yeah.
Life-changing moment. Like, all of a sudden, you can actually hear him. Like songs like Axis Bold as Love. I mean, I think the first time I heard it, I think I just like burst into tears, because of how powerful the poetry is and the music. It's just like, oh my God, that is like the perfect song. It's like the perfect song as an artist, because it's so unique but powerful, and just like, there's nothing out there quite like that tune.
And there never will be.
Yeah.
There never will be.
I know. It's like, because you'll see right through it if somebody tries to emulate something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So now all of a sudden, dude, I'm like, whoa, like, my mind has expanded. I can hear Jimmy, and I just leaned into Jimmy. I just leaned into him. And then I started realizing, I started listening to all the other people that were influenced by Jimmy. So So it was probably like a year of just really leaning into Hendrix. And then I think I took like another year, and I leaned in really hard to Stevie Ray Vaughan. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, there's this whole other side of music that I have completely ignored, because I have adopted some too cool for school attitude, Sacramento fucking leftover brain. Quick, on the same lick.
Was it because there was a lack of?
It's a zero-sum game, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. But I mean, just if you were to take a step back and like look at things I've noticed here. More musicians here are willing to start new bands as opposed to fighting over the established band. Yeah. Okay.
Politics. And I mean, one thing that I will say briefly is keeping a band together is so difficult because you have to you want to work with the most pro level guys you can.
Yeah.
Well, you have to keep those guys employed. There's a saying, you know, a band that plays together stays together. And so, but there's also a double-edged sword to that where if you're a hired gun, well, hired guns aren't known for really, it's not about loyalty to one or two things. You're kind of spread out in like 6 different bands. And I think that it can become, it gets to a point.
That's got to be hard to keep everything straight if you're like in part of 6 different bands.
It's almost virtually impossible. And this is why keeping a band together, doing a band at all is literally, you're deciding, I'm going to go try to do the hardest industry that there is.
Yeah.
And to just circle back around for 1 second, after I could hear Jimmy and Stevie, that pulled me into the soul side of music.
Okay.
So there's a lot of reasons why he's up here.
Yeah.
And he's the guy that influenced all of our heroes.
Yeah.
All of them. Like, I can't really I mean, even Eddie Van Halen, okay? Eddie was so different. He was so different. And you would almost think, like, oh, wow, somebody like him would probably kind of, like, look down on... I mean, just because, you know, Hendrix wasn't, like, some crazy shredder. I mean, he was, but he was so soulful, you know? It's like, the styles are so different. It's like, even Yngwie, massive Hendrix fan. I mean, these, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Joe Satriani, massive. I mean, like, game-changing, life-changing moment for Joe Satriani the day that Hendrix passed away. I mean, there's a reason, you know? So that pulled me into the soul side of it. All of a sudden I can hear the blues and I can hear the soul. And I'm like, yeah, man, I need to kind of like lean into that more, like go away from the shred. And then I met my buddy Kalen Ulig, who passed away a couple years ago. And we started a band here called The Function in Astoria. We were 19. And he was really into funk and soul.
Yeah.
And I really started leaning into that just a little bit at the same time that I met him. But he was really into it. So now all of a sudden I'm like listening to like pretty much just James Brown and Parliament. I mean,
love it.
Anything and everything funky. Jamiroquai.
Oh, yeah.
Red Hot Chili Peppers. I mean, and I was a big Chili Peppers fan, like even when I was a teenager. But they weren't the precedent for me. You know, that sound wasn't but it's like all of a sudden it's like, wait, no, it's like it's about the groove. That's a completely different mindset, man. I mean the groove mindset from the metal mindset couldn't be. I mean those are just absolutely an antithesis of one another to a degree.
Well, yeah, because I think
unless you're talking about Pantera, the ultimate groove metal.
But even with Pantera though, like with all of those bands, like at the core level, you're talking about the public persona of anger and angst and fuck society and and then like
smash each other in the mosh pit.
Yeah, and I think everybody I've talked to that's sort of in the funk music, it's all about funk is love, man.
That's it.
Funk is love, man.
That's it.
Like,
those things, I mean, really, like those, I do feel like those words are synonymous.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Now, getting back to talking about trying to keep a band together and the ins and outs of all that is that when you're working with the pro level guys, you got to keep the pro level guys happy. And that's almost impossible because, you know, like, look, an average gig, I would say, if you're getting, you know, $400 to $500 guarantee,
That's decent money these days.
you're actually right in you're right in that you're right in that pretty much normal average pocket, man. And you're doing it. You're doing it.
That's not enough to sustain
not
yourself.
Enough. It's horrible. It's horrible.
It's not enough to sustain
terrible.
yourself.
It's
Yeah.
terrible money.
Mhm.
It's truly a broken.
It's kind of a broken system.
It's a broken business model.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, but here's the thing. I can bitch and complain about a lot of things that are wrong with it. But there's also something that is very obvious about it, which is, I don't know if you know anything about the Pareto distribution.
No.
So there's it's a rule in economics that, have you ever heard of the 20-80 rule?
Yeah.
Okay. It's basically, it's the same thing.
But for those of us who are listening who may not.
Right. Yeah. So the 20-80 rule says that, for example, 20% of my wealth comes from 80% of my energy. So in economics, what you want to do is you want to turn 20% of your energy into 80% of your wealth. And in the Pareto distribution, it's basically what it is that the minority holds the majority.
Yeah.
And it's not just something that's found in economics, but they basically talk about it like it's a universal law, actually. Something that's found in reality. It's just it's also in the Bible called the Matthew principle.
Okay.
And the Matthew principle says which it's absolutely brutal.
Mm-hmm.
To those who have everything, more shall be given, and to those who have nothing, everything shall be taken. So when I hear that, I think that that's actually, it's a psychology issue. Because if you think that you're poor, you will continue to be poor. And if you think that you're rich, and you believe that you are rich, and I believe that rich means that you actually understand you have intrinsic value.
Okay.
That you're actually rich. Because if you believe that you're rich, and you and your buddy, who are both basically poor,
Yeah.
he really believes he's poor, but you believe that you're rich, and you're walking the same path, you're going to be the one that's attracting things to you. You will be given more. It's actually, and on a kind of a hokier side, it's the law of attraction to a certain degree, is that if you think that you have everything that you need, more will be given. And it's a brutal law. It's brutal. Now, the brutal thing about the music industry is that it's so obvious that the Pareto distribution is in full effect. So I started a podcast. Check it out. Jesse Lee Falls podcast. There's my little shameless self-promoting. On the micro music business. And my whole philosophy to do that was to get people to start thinking about how to get yourself in the top 10%, not the top 1%. And here's why. I believe that you can have a healthier, more sustainable music career if you're not shooting for that. I don't want to call it unrealistic.
Right, but at the same time,
there's a macro side to the business that I think unlocks a lot of unhealthiness in your life. And I think that there's ways that you can actually be, if you can get yourself to the top 10%, then you can actually start seeing real effects from your own work. and being independent. And I think it's really important for artists to stay independent, because artists are geared mentally through our personality traits that to be signed to a contract for an artist is really antithesis. It's antithetical, right? We don't really work well in boxes.
Yeah.
We don't really work well on schedules. Artists tend to be high in openness trait and low in conscientious trait.
Oh, interesting.
Conscientious is synonymous with hardworking and orderliness. So something else that I'm trying to help educate musicians and artists on is that we really have to confront the things that we struggle with. And conscientiousness is one of those things, because, like in an artist's house, like you can see, I don't really believe in orderliness. We actually tidied up for you.
That's fair.
But yeah, it's like, I mean, I'm always like creating, and when I'm creating, I've got chords and I've got, it's like, it's a mess. It looks like a friggin' mess. And now I can be hardworking and dutiful, but it has to be on like I literally have to believe in what I'm doing. I'm not a good employee. I'm actually a really bad employee. I'm probably a worse boss too, but I don't know. But like,
right.
I'd rather just be, independent, or at least a leader of my own life, than an employee ever. And there's so many I think traps for artists. That's like another one of those traps is the motivation of money.
Yeah.
Like, we've never created anything. If you're an artist, you've never created anything because you're sitting there going, I'm creating this stuff. Like, all the money that's going to roll in. Nobody does that, man. Like, and if you are doing that, it's like, dude, your music probably not really great.
Oh yeah, like with this podcast, I have no envisions of this thing ever making money. I'm doing this because I have a passion for it. I think these conversations need to be had, and if it makes money, great. If not, I don't care. I'm just going to keep doing it because I love it.
That's it.
I love it.
That's it. And that's that kind of transparency. I know we were talking about this when you first showed up. That kind of transparency is why this format works.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, look, you can't do things that are contrived and think that people are going to fall for it. You were telling me that you were doing a radio show, that you started off in radio.
Yeah.
That your radio show, that you actually guys tried to do a scripted radio show. And as soon as I heard that, I was like, cringe.
Yeah.
You were
Like
oh
they,
my God.
I had to provide the host with the written questions ahead of time. I had to provide the guests with the written questions ahead of time. And a lot of the times it sounded like it was reading. And I'll never forget to this day, one time we had a guest not show up or was like 5 minutes late. And the host could not think on his feet enough to do anything other than promote the questions he was going to ask of the guy he was going to interview. And it was like, that will never happen with this show.
So, which brings me back to the personality traits.
Yeah.
Openness. There's two dimensions to the openness trait, which is IQ or intellect and creativeness.
Yeah.
So here's the cool thing. This is what's really, really cool. And this is definitely one of the messages I've been wanting to get out on my podcast. So entrepreneurs are high in openness.
Yeah.
Which is IQ and creativity. Now, IQ, they have found that IQ actually has more to do with problem solving than having a good memory. Now, that kind of floored me. So when you take an IQ test, it actually, there's something about the IQ test. It's seeing how good of a problem solver you are.
Interesting.
So problem solving comes from the creativity and the IQ compartment, which is openness. there is no correlation to entrepreneurship and conscientiousness, because conscientious people are people who do really good admin and managerial. These are people who like structure. They want to show up to a place of work, Monday through Friday. That's where they thrive. They're orderly.
Yeah.
They're hardworking. So you want conscientious people running your companies. But entrepreneurs are not good at running companies. Entrepreneurs are good at creating companies, and then they have to find the conscientious people to run those companies. Now, here's the really cool thing. It does tend to look that if you are high in openness, that you're going to be kind of low in conscientiousness, because there's no correlation to those two.
Right.
There's actually no correlation, which is crazy to me, that there's no correlation to being hardworking and being smart.
Yeah.
That's like, oh, okay. Like,
Yeah.
oh, like that's kind of weird in a way.
In a way, it kind of makes sense.
But yeah, in a way, it does make sense. So the thing about being an entrepreneur is that you can create the ideas, and then you have to delegate that out to people who are the hardworking, conscientious, that they're good at paperwork, they're good at the admin stuff, because they like the structure, right?
Yeah.
Well, there is a correlation to people who are highly successful. Highly successful people have a very healthy balance of those two things.
Okay.
They actually have conscientiousness, and they have the openness trait. And those people are rare. Those are, from what I can see, those are the multimillionaire, billionaire people. They can think on their feet. They can literally think on their feet, but they're also decisive. So they have what I think maybe you and I have, because if you're a podcaster, you're going to be high in being extroverted. You like
Kinda.
people, and you like to talk to people.
Kinda. Yeah.
Yeah.
My story's a little different because of my autism, and we'll get into that in a second, but I want you to finish your thought.
Yeah, so extroversion has two things. There's two compartments to extroversion, which is enthusiasm and, hold on, I just had, assertiveness. Assertiveness. You got to be, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to be independent, you got to be assertive. You got to go out there and you got to be decisive. You got to make decisions. You got to form plans. You got to organize. You got to be a good organizer. And you have to be enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Because nobody goes along with anybody who's like Eeyore about everything. Like, that's not a leader. A leader is like kind of loud, boisterous. Like, come on, guys. Whoa.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to run a band, you want to have a lot of those, personality traits, because for one, people get bored, and if they don't really believe in your music, you're not going to keep them. And there's three things you have to be in a band: good hang, decent money, and good music.
Yeah.
And there's times where you can sacrifice one of those things. It's not really ideal, but the one thing that you don't ever want to sacrifice is the hang. I mean, literally, if the music is kind of like, but the money is really good and the hang is really good, those tend to be really fun gigs.
Yeah.
As soon as the hang goes away and it just becomes about the money and the music, you're going, what the fuck are we doing this for? I think a lot of the big bands, that's what happens to them. The hang gets bad.
Yeah.
And then there's animosity. Oh, and then you got to go play on stage together? Yeah, dude, that's going to go over.
Then you have instances like you saw on stage with Dave Navarro.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, it's hard to keep that cohesiveness together in that high pressure, high money sort of environment.
Well, I mean, rock stars, man, we self-medicate, so like the mental health side of the artistry and the mental health side of the musician world, it's like there's more musicians that are starting to steer away from alcohol. These days, I think more than I've seen. I think people are just getting old enough to where it's like we're really starting to learn our lessons. And like, man, it really is the devil. It brings nothing good. And
Especially when weed is available.
yeah,
Like if I were to choose between alcohol and marijuana, like I'm going to go towards marijuana every time.
right.
Like I still like to drink from time to time, but I have to be careful because of my family history with alcohol.
Right.
And so and there is that trap of people who feel like they only sing good when they're drunk. And it's like,
It's oh yeah. Well, unfortunately, it's an anxiety crusher. It kills your anxiety, but it also puts you in a false sense of state of delusion. Really, it's like, dude, you can't hear that you're flat. It's like, okay, well, that's because you've had too much and your senses are all out of whack, dude. Give me a break. But yeah, I think there's been a bit of a shift that way. I think if you are an artist, if you're a songwriter, there's just a lot of negative stuff that comes along with being an artist, man.
Yeah.
I mean, just saying, we're tortured souls. It's kind of the point. Of why we do art, why we have to do it's not really a choice. It's kind of like you were saying about the podcast. It's like I feel the same way because I am somewhat hyper-verbal and I want to talk about. I enjoy the business side.
Yeah.
I like being an entrepreneur. I like being able to navigate waters that are very unclear, but at the same time, it's like there are no rules. You gotta Kobayashi Maru everything, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the mindset you should have. Like, if you're gonna really try to be in the music business, you got to have we'll change the rules.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be willing to maybe bend the rules without breaking them. There's just times where you have to just there are no rules. This is the wild, wild west, and I just need to treat it as such. Be creative, and don't be a fraud, and don't be a hustler, and don't be a con.
We have enough of those on this planet.
Yeah. Bring the real product.
Yes.
You got to bring it.
And when you're able to bring your authentic self and you're able to sort of stay in that realm, people notice and people will be drawn to you. The more fake you are, the more off-putting, the more negative you are, you're just going to push people away.
That's why that's why I can't do cover bands.
Yeah.
Because I really do feel like I'm up there. I'm like, man, I didn't go through all of this to be on stage just so I can play other people's music. I want to be authentic. I want to I'm not trying to serve myself, but damn, I find it to be just the antithesis of creativity, because it's now it's really cool. Don't get me wrong. Now I'm just like everybody else, man. When I see a band doing somebody else's song and it sounds really close to the radio, there's value there. There's just total value.
Speaking of Jimmy, Ron Hansen was just in Salem.
Yeah.
Freaking amazing tribute band to Jimi Hendrix. And I think there is a place for that. But if you're looking for that creativity side,
that's tribute.
Yeah, 100%.
So
yeah,
that's there's something to that, right? There's value there too. I know the guys. Well, Timmer plays with the Revival Brothers.
Yeah, the Allman Brothers Band tribute.
They're doing really great.
They're
great. They're great.
Mm-hmm.
There's real value in that, and the tribute band thing has become a super hot market. My issue is the cover band stuff, where you really are playing a lot of different
Yeah.
types of music, and you're kind of being what I would call like a live jukebox, maybe
Yeah.
something like that. And you know, I did I did a stint with a band for like 6 months, and we did the top R&B funk stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They had the sequencer, and I was just like, man. I mean, even after 6 months, I was kind of like,
Well, especially if you're like the creative soul, right?
yeah,
Where the reason for music is not just to play. Like,
it's to be creative.
yeah, some people just love to play and they're perfectly happy and content being in a cover band, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you have that creative juice that says, no, I need more, and then to be stuck in a cover band, that does not fill your cup.
No way.
Yeah.
And I know it's such a different philosophy and way of thinking about it, but I like I said, I tried it, but I really do feel like I'm robbing myself. And when I go out and play a show now, and I'm doing 90% original, and I'm getting the reaction that I'm getting, it's like, see, that's why you do this.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you do this. And it's really funny because I do try to stay pretty genre specific, you know, because I've test marketed enough, you know, out in public to see, like, you know, people really like the funk.
Yeah.
It just makes them happy. The women like it. It makes everybody dance. I mean, it's just great. But the cool thing that we started to notice was, you know, I don't sit there and tell people like, oh, this is an original song. Oh, here's another original song. I'm not like shameless self-promoting. Most of the time, they don't even know we're playing original music.
Yeah.
Because it's just in the vein. And they're sitting there going, I don't think I've ever heard this song before.
Yeah.
But they don't think it's an original. And so, in a way, that's kind of like what you want. You want your stuff to be in a format that's, well, shit. Are you fooling people with this?
Right.
It's like, well, actually, yeah, we have. We fooled a lot of people. Like, you know, and then they find out, oh, wait, those are originals? They're like, wait, what? And then they have, and you can see like the whole process, like they're like trying to figure out like, well, how do you have so many like great tunes? Like those are all good tunes. And it's like, dude, do you know how much more valuable that feedback is? That even like, oh, here's your $400 check at the end of the night. I'm like, I can give a crap less about that $400.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have people that are like literally coming up to you and going, "Well, I've never heard those songs before, but I definitely dig the radio station," you know, and it's like that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Like, no, we're not tricking people. It's just that they just feel that it's like, oh, that is totally in that soul funk genre, and fool us.
And I've said it before, and I'll say it till the day I'm dead. Like a lot of people don't appreciate the level of work that it takes to get that finished product. Like the amount of time you practice, the amount of time you work on arrangements, the amount of time you work on lyrics, the amount of time you practice with the band, all of that stuff to get that final product on stage where you have 10 to 12 original songs is not a small feat. It takes years and years and years of dedication and work to get to a level of proficiency so where you can even start to put music together. And so I would imagine, like, when you have all of that work, you've accomplished that, and then you get that feedback. Like, I don't imagine how amazing of a feeling that must be.
Yeah, those are the moments that you go, oh, okay, I can keep going.
Yeah.
Because there's times, and now there are some people out there that are doing really well, and they're very happy, and they're just killing it, and that's great. There's a lot of us out here are struggling.
Yeah.
We struggle to keep band members together. Me, for example, I have to have, basically 3 bass players and 3 drummers on hand at all times. And I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Because all of them, those musicians probably have like 3 or 4 other bands and then also day jobs, right? Yeah. I know a lot of musicians in the Oregon area that need that day job in order to be able to live, and then they do the music whenever they can. That fills their cup.
And if they don't have a day job, then they are in 4 and 5 bands, and then you want to. I'll do some really crazy math for you.
Yeah, please.
So if you have, so say me, for example, I have a band. Now say I've got an average of 4 people in my band. Okay. And each one of those people has 4 bands.
Wow.
And each one of those bands has an average of 4 people in it.
That's a lot of people.
Do you see how exponentially, basically what happens is, if I have 4 people in my band, and then each one of those people has 4 bands, 4 people, you're somewhere around, you're literally affecting about 100 people. I mean, it gets, the numbers like grow.
Yeah.
Insanely. Now, for me to go and schedule a gig, that affects 100 people's lives. And I don't think people have really done the math.
Yeah.
I understand there's redundancies in bands too. Well, this guitar player plays with me in this band and this band. So I understand there's going to be some redundancies, but those are all slots. So maybe there are some redundancies for those slots, but you're still going to be in the, you're working around 60 to 100 people's schedules. And it's ridiculous how freaking, it can be really difficult. It just makes it really difficult, to schedule around that many people. And it's like, you just don't really realize how many people it really does affect, how many people you're actually involved with.
And if your band is the one that gets one of the only 3 venues, that's 62 people that doesn't have access to that venue.
Ooh, see?
Yeah. Because there's yeah. Because in the grand scheme of things, there's not that many venues out there. I mean, there used to be a lot more. I mean, even in Salem, we're about to lose one more. The Affinity Room's closing.
We're way more interconnected than I think that we, realize.
And it's amazing how small of a world the music world is.
Oh yeah. Well, for example, I mean, the whole reason why me and you hooked up was because of Timmer Blakely. Love you, Timmer. Buddy. Got to give a shout out to Timmer. A couple of years ago, I randomly reached out to Timmer because I have been seeing the progress that he's been making, and I couldn't help it, man. One thing that you don't get a lot of is sometimes recognition when you're doing something good.
Yeah.
And I'm watching from the sidelines Timmer growing his Lightning in a Bottle Records company, and I'm just like watching, man. Well, every once in a while, some troll would troll him and start popping off about just basically just being negative. Really just being negative. And I'm just sitting here going, wow, man, like just no words of encouragement, huh? Well, after a while, I eventually hit him up and I was like, look, dude, I see what you're doing. I commend you. I think it's fucking great. I think, and him and I like met one time before at the Blue Diamond, outside the Blue Diamond, years ago. And I just remember him being a really nice guy.
Yeah.
And a great player, because I watched the set. And I just felt like this guy's getting like no words of encouragement. And so I finally just sent him a private message. And eventually something happened. I had a phone call with him and just kind of reached out, and we were talking about just the business side, the frustrations of being a musician, trying to, run the band. for him specifically, I was like, hey, look, dude, I know you're getting hate. You're getting hate, and I don't know why. I think I don't even know you, but I think it's very obvious that you're a good dude and you're trying to do something good.
And I want to speak this into the ether because I'm glad you brought that up, right? Anybody that has said anything disparaging about that man does not know that man.
Oh, seriously.
He is hands down one of the nicest, most sincere, most dedicated to music person I have ever met in my entire life. And anybody that says anything about his professionalism, about what he's got going on, they don't know him at all.
Oh, yeah.
And I hate the fact that people troll. Like, I wish we could just do away with the trolling all to begin with, because there's no reason for that. Because the person that's trolling has never picked up a guitar.
Ultimately, I think a lot of it comes down to envy.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's just
Yeah.
envy. You know?
People who have too much time on their hands have a lot of negativity in their own lives and their own hearts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's sometimes it's hard to be happy.
Yeah.
For somebody that's doing well.
Yeah.
Isn't that screwed up?
It's wild.
But that's human condition kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I've lost friends along the way because of that, right? Because as I've started to become successful,
Feels good to champion
others.
Yeah. Like, hey man, freaking good job. And
good for you.
To mean it.
Yeah.
It's like it's so.
And
healthy.
what does it cost you? Nothing.
I'll tell you what it costs. It costs humility.
Yeah.
You have to have humility.
Yeah.
Because humility is the proper response to envy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, actually, no. I'm sorry. Gratitude.
Yeah.
Gratitude is the way to conquer envy. That's, maybe a little bit of both, but I think mainly gratitude because to be grateful that like, oh man, I'm grateful that something's going good for you.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome, but it's really hard for people to go, well, I'm happy. Oh yeah, I'm so happy for you, even though good things aren't happening for me. It's like, it's just the bitter resentment, man. It's really just, it's so toxic. That was really kind of the Sacramento world. I felt like the Sacramento world was just absolutely that way.
And what I would draw for a kind of a parallel to that is my experience in Seattle. It's very similar. I lived in the same house for a decade. I only knew one of my neighbors. None of the, and I'm the kind of person that likes to go out and say hi and sort of like meet people and sort of all that stuff. And it was very strange to me coming from the military and like this, and having this sort of sense of family. And then you come to Seattle and it's like the cold shoulder. It's like everybody's like frozen and ice and just like not warm.
Yeah.
It was such a, like, even though I grew up there, like when I got back, I was like, was it really like this before I left? And I think it was.
Thanks for your service. I'm ex-Coast Guard.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I was in the Army 4 years.
Right on.
Yeah. Probably would have been for life if I hadn't gotten injured.
Yeah, check this out, man.
Yeah.
Check this out.
Oh, fuck yeah.
God. I had lost these because I've moved so many times. And
yeah.
I'm going to show you guys. These are medals for, this is the National Defense Medal. You get one of those when you sign up during a time of war. I signed up during 9/11.
Okay.
Just 2 years after 9/11. And then you get the War on Terrorism Medal. That's the post 9/11 medal. So anyways, I had to go out and buy these again, and I just, it's like the military was a big part of my life.
Yeah.
I think that's probably why I'm an entrepreneur, and these are good reminders, that those don't say weakness.
No.
This is a reminder of the strength that we have to have as leaders.
Yeah.
And sometimes because it was such a long time ago, it just feels like a lifetime ago. And it's like, I forget. It's like, you know what? I can't forget. I can't forget. And so I had to go rebuy these. And now I've just got him out because I just like, don't forget who you are, man.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to transfer that energy into the business world, because I think that there is something important about the military mindset. It builds winners.
I would not be here today if it wasn't for the military.
Yeah.
Like good, bad, all of it,
Mhm.
all rolled into one because it's all of that,
Yeah.
right? The military was good for me, bad for me, all rolled into one.
Me too.
However, I did not know humility until I joined the military.
Yeah.
I did not know what true belonging and true acceptance was until I joined the military.
Yeah.
Because like it doesn't matter who you are, what color skin is, what religion you are. I'm going to rely on you to keep me alive in the trenches, and you can rely on me to keep you alive in the trenches.
See, that kind of teamwork and camaraderie, when I got out, I was like expecting to find that with my bands and my band members.
Yeah.
I have not. And that's ultimately like why, I have to really watch my resentment, because I will start, lumping in people's general direction, because I'm like, oh, you're just here because it's transactional. Oh, you're really just here to get, you don't really want to practice much.
Yeah.
You want to just show up to the gig, play the gig, get paid,
and head out. Yeah.
And there's no camaraderie. There it's just all transactional, and that's kind of why I wanted to start my podcast, is because like if I don't start talking about some of the ugly side, like what Carl Jung would call the shadow side.
Yeah.
Is I don't start talking about the shadow side of this industry, like I'm gonna start getting really pissed off.
Yeah.
And then I'm really not gonna be able to keep a band together, because I'm just gonna be looking at people like, dude, are you an obstacle or are you an asset?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not a good place to go, man. Like, you don't want to start looking at people like they're objects, So keeping that narcissistic crap, out of yourself as you're trying to like create something, but also you're trying to lead. You're trying to lead, man, and you can't lead people if they don't respect you. So it's such a fine line between being a good guy and being a pushover.
Yeah.
You can be a good guy, but if you don't have the capacity to like give, like raise your eyebrows and be like, really, buddy? You really? You want to go down that road with me? I mean, because if you're just kind of a pushover, and that's the thing, it's like, I know that coming from California and then, having the military background, it's like, it kind of makes you a little bit more formidable, and Oregon is pretty hippie.
Yeah.
And they don't really care for that kind of assertive kind of, but it's hard to keep anything together if you're not a little bit assertive. It's like you got to make decisions. One thing that I really appreciated about Timmer was after this we had a great conversation. I think we were on the phone for like an hour.
I love Timmer.
And eventually he goes, man, you seem to actually know quite a bit about like PROs, which are performing rights organizations.
Yeah.
ASCAP, BMI, CSAC.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I've been wanting to put a clinic together. Like, would you be willing to like come and speak at it? So that was really my first, basically my first interaction with Timmer.
Yeah.
I got to go up and like do an hour presentation on PROs in front of a pretty good sized group of people. I think there was about 25.
Yeah, a lot of people have no idea what that is.
Yeah. And so basically, if you don't know what a PRO is, Performing Rights Organization, like I said, BMI, ASCAP.
They're kind of like the mafia of the music world.
Well, what they are is you want to be affiliated with one, because if your music gets put into film or television, that's how they collect those royalties.
Yeah.
And that's a very lucrative side to this industry, but it's a very hard side to get into.
Because they're the gatekeepers.
And, you can still make royalties, I think, off radio. I don't know. Somewhere along the line, I don't know how those royalties get collected. I don't understand the avenues that all that stuff. But the film and television world seems to be really legit. There's a lot of people that are doing really well on that side of things. And if you do write a hit song and say maybe another artist redoes it and makes it a hit, man, you got it. As a songwriter, that's how you're making your money. It's through ASCAP. And even though they have tried to shake a lot of places down, like, oh, if you're having cover bands here, then you need to pay the performing rights organizations because we need to collect royalties for those groups or whatever. And they're trying to come down on these establishments, and now the establishments are like, okay, well, we'll just make sure that we're hiring only original bands, and that's actually how a lot of places are trying to get around it. I affiliate myself with ASCAP because just in case one of my songs comes up on an ASCAP cue sheet, they know who to pay.
Yeah.
So it's really a way to protect yourself. So that way, just in case you write a hit song, you want to have your ducks in a row. So Timmer, just having a conversation with him, we were just like clicking, and he goes, "Hey man, like, come do this clinic."
Yeah.
So I went and did it. It was awesome. I'd never done one before, and it was totally fun. And I'm like walking away from it going, like, that was very surreal. But at the same time, I felt like really good. I was like, oh, dude, I kind of crushed that, I think. Like I'm sitting there like thinking back, I'm like, I kind of felt like I crushed that. And that really kind of got me thinking, like, okay, dude, you need to do this podcast thing. It was something that I'd been talking about for probably 6 months before that.
Yeah.
And it still took me like another year, I think. But that, so Timmer, thank you for that opportunity, because it really did make me feel confident speaking in front of people.
Yeah.
And it was literally like just being thrown into it, and I had a blast doing it. And so that actually was very inspiring to me, where I was like, I think I've got stuff to say. I got a lot of stuff to say, and probably too much stuff to say. And when it comes to the music business stuff, man, you got to have a passion for that, because I drive my band members nuts. They don't want to listen to it. They don't want to listen to it, man. They don't really care about the business side. It's drab. It's like, well, that's not, obviously we're not doing music because we're, so business driven.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. But there's something about the music business, the entity, especially on the independent side, that I find that there's so much freedom, and you can be like this totally like mad scientist and just kind of like Kobayashi Maru, dude. Like, just literally like start making new rules, and don't participate in the games that have already been created out there when it comes to this. Like, go out there and like reinvent it in your own image. Like, seriously, like, that sounds a little blasphemous, but go.
At the same time, though, you kind of have to.
Yeah, have to, man.
Yeah.
Recreate it in the image that you think is proper, because I don't want to go to a Diddy party.
Right.
I don't ever want to end up at any metaphorical Diddy party.
100%. 100%.
And I'm sure that there's a lot more Diddy parties out there that we need to
that we don't even know about.
That we don't even know about, man.
Yeah.
It's like how many Diddies are out there in the world functioning right now, man? I mean, that guy. How many more Epsteins do we have to come across? And that's the thing that I don't like about the music industry. It's like that the more I start, the more you start researching, the more you're going, this is going down a dark road.
But it doesn't have to.
No.
Yeah.
In fact, I heard, so I don't know if you guys know who Winston Marshall
Yeah.
is. He's a podcaster now, but he was the banjo player for Mumford and Sons.
Okay.
And he got kicked out of the band because he somewhere along the line he really enjoys Jordan Peterson, and I listen to Jordan Peterson too. I hope that doesn't offend anybody, but he was, I guess, I don't know, he agreed with Jordan Peterson somewhere along the line, and he basically was kind of canceled for it. But I heard him on Peterson's podcast just like a week ago, and he told Jordan that when he first got into the music industry, that everybody around him, like his band members, everybody around him was telling him, whatever you do, don't mention that you're a Christian.
Interesting.
It's like, I'm sorry, but like if that's the prerequisite to being in the music industry, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
And it's if you look at music, right? Music should be that genre where it's all welcoming, regardless of your religious beliefs, regardless of all of the, like, all of that stuff shouldn't really be involved.
Sure.
Like, it shouldn't matter.
But I play soul music.
Yeah.
I like funk and soul music.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but that's the spirit, baby.
Yeah.
And it's like, like, what do you, like,
yeah.
Like for me, in my world, like, okay, if I'm in the death metal scene,
yeah,
okay, I can see how that's a prerequisite.
Kinda.
Right? They're like,
kinda. But then again, I know, like,
quotas, like, okay, how many churches have you burned down this year? Only 3?
But there is an avenue, though, right? Like, there's bands like Testament.
Oh, I love Testament.
That the freaking amazing hardcore death metal band, totally religious based. Like, there needs to be room for both.
Yeah, and so for me, it's like if I'm hearing anything that comes anything close to, hey, this guy was like in it, and he's going, yeah, man, like everybody around him, like, his band members were like, hey, man, whatever you do, like, don't mention the fact that. And he was like, and he goes, it was kind of weird at the time because he goes at the time I really wasn't.
Yeah,
like, I became, but he's like, at the time I really wasn't, but people were already like telling me, like, oh, whatever you do, don't mention that. And to me, it's like, yeah, dude, that's the first step. That's how you know you're literally one step away from a Diddy party.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm like really? Like, you have to be godless to be in this industry? It seems like a weird prerequisite, man. Like, I've never filled out any job application.
Right?
Like,
yeah.
You got to have ID. Like, are you godless? Whoa. So, anyways, there's a lot to the industry that I don't want any part of.
Yeah.
So staying independent is really, not shooting for that huge 1 percentile. Oh, I got to be in the 1 percentile. Like, yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're going to be making the majority of the money, you're going to be in that minority position. But I think that I don't think it has to be just hot or cold. I don't think it's I don't think it's you're either in the 1% or you're in the 99%. I actually think that there's a little window. There's a window of the top 10% where you can actually maneuver and not put yourself into positions where now you're glued to a bad contract that you can't freaking get out of. Dude, that's hell.
Yeah.
I don't care. It's like, or maybe you get into a deal where they don't care about your songwriting. It's guess what?
Well, you're just a number to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole getting a contract and the things that you have to agree to just seem to be, it's just a list of this is antithesis of an artist. This is antithesis of an artist. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like artists have to value their mental health over the money and the status.
And
They
it
have to, because we're not really equipped to deal with a lot of high stress and pressure. We're artists. We're kind of sensitive.
and the thought that comes to mind when you're talking about the 10% versus the 1%, right?
Yeah.
If you're trying to strive to be Taylor Swift, you're setting yourself up for failure. There's only one Taylor. There's not going to be another Taylor.
And that's not
And
anything to compare yourself to.
right. And so when you set yourself up and you're trying to compare yourself to that, and that's the goal, you're going to get discouraged really quick.
Yeah.
And it's because that's a once in a lifetime attainability.
Yeah. She's probably more like in the 0.1%.
Yeah.
Like it gets smaller. That window gets small. But at the same time, it's like,
Yeah.
nobody really wants to be Taylor Swift.
That's fair.
We like the money.
Yeah.
I think if anybody's envious of her, it's because of how rich she is.
Yeah.
But I don't think any musician who's worth their weight is envious of her songs or her songwriting. I know a lot of people. Anytime you say something negative about Taylor Swift, there will be a bunch of guys jumping online going, "Oh, how many hit songs have you written?" And it's like, yeah, granted, like we all know we're trying to write hit songs, okay? But here's the irony: she has lots of hit songs. How many of them can you name? Yeah, I can't name one of her songs, and I think that's a really weird paradox with her. Is that it's like, okay, she's got lots of hits, but like most people don't. You can't even name a song
Unless you're a Swiftie.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you got to be
Like,
you got to be.
Ray, go easy on me.
Yeah, but it's like, if you say anything, anything that's remotely kind of negative about Taylor, people kind of flip out, because it's like, yeah, I get it, man. She's a superstar. I get it.
Yeah.
But why is it that, like, if you talk to musicians, like, I would say, like, some of the musicians that we know,
Yeah.
guys that are really out there, like doing it, man. Nobody's envious of her songwriting.
That's fair.
Yeah, this is completely ironic, man. So it's like, well, why would you ever take the Pepsi Coke challenge with? Like, she's obviously Coke.
Yeah.
It's got a weird aftertaste. It's like, oh, whoops, oh, all the Coke fanatics are going to be like, just like.
At the same time, though, you do have some artists that are up there on the top that just, like, for example, like, I will always have an affinity for Sia because her voice is hauntingly good.
Yeah.
Hauntingly good. And I love Taylor a lot, but I have never had the hair stand up on the back of my neck when I heard her sing.
Right.
When I hear some of those songs that Sia has out there, the hair on the back of my neck stands up. I'm like, that's true artistry. And I think there's a difference.
Yeah. I don't think Taylor Swift is inspiring people to pick up the guitar.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. It's like, we leave that up to guys like Eddie Van Halen, Satriani, like, Paul Gilbert. You like that? Did you like that, Timber? Like that little shout out.
Brandon Logan.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, the whole industry is just so whack. But if you're a creative and you're entrepreneurial minded, it's basically I would look at it as a playground with absolutely no rules now. It's just a wild frontier. And somewhat of chaotic playground, but chaotic in a way that's not completely bad, more like chaotic in a way that, like, chaos is also synonymous with potential, right? So it's like, yeah, there's no rules.
Yeah.
There's like really, there's like just nothing but potential. But the problem with that is that there's potential for bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you really got to learn how to walk that line. You got to walk that line, like Peterson talks about, that line between chaos and order. You know, artists live on the fringe. And the reason why is because the fringe, so you have what would we call, like, the garden, the walled garden, right?
Yeah.
Paradise, the walled garden.
Yeah.
Well, there's a wall there because of security from the outside world is chaos because it's the unknown, right? Well, artists, we live on that line. We live on that fringe line, just on the fringe, just on that line of chaos, where we're willing to go into uncharted territory. We're willing to go into the chaos, but the reason why is because we're advancing the borders of order into chaos. We're willing to travel into chaos because we're establishing order, actually. And there has to be somebody who lives on that line of chaos and order, because there are people who are in the chaos. And the artist is the person who mediates between the true chaos that's out there and the order. And we bring those things together, right? And that's what the artist's position in society is. So artists get isolated.
Yeah.
We get depressed. We get suicidal. We drink too much. We do other recreational drugs too much sometimes. We get very self-destructive. And for the artists that are out there that struggle with this, the reason why is because we are supposed to live on the fringe. But the problem with it is that it can be extremely lonely. But we are the mediators of the cosmic information that comes through us. And then we translate that cosmic messaging through our art to inspire others.
Yeah.
That's our freaking job. So if you're an artist out there and you're struggling and you've got mental health issues, like, welcome to the club, because there's a reason why we have to be alone a lot, because that's where we create. I can't create in a full room. I mean, to a certain degree, but when I go on stage, I know what songs I'm playing. I'm not like really creating on the spot so much. I mean, well, I guess with the solos, sure. I mean, but ultimately, we have to be on the fringe, because that's actually how we bring enlightenment to the lost and the chaotic. And there are a lot of lost, chaotic people out there. And so we're trying to rein some of that in and bring order and help, because we have to communicate in ways that other people can really understand. And I guess music is probably the best way to do that.
Well, and music for me
Bipartisan.
is is communication in a way.
It's the ultimate.
Because like, and I've said this before on the podcast, but like I struggle with communication when it comes to like emotional conversations. But I have a song for that.
Cool.
So I know, like, no matter what I'm experiencing or whatever is happening in my life, if I need to tell somebody else what's going on and I can't because my autistic brain can't process, I can send you a song that has the lyrics, the tone, the meaning, everything on a situation that I could not otherwise.
Extremely powerful.
And if it wasn't for the muse of music and that sort of philosophy, like, I don't know what I would be able to or not be able to.
Yeah.
And so music is just, I don't think people who aren't into music don't understand what music sort of brings to humanity.
The emotional connection.
Yeah. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. And it's unlike anything else. Like, because like you're saying, it's like you're taking 4 or 5, like if you have a 5-piece band, you're taking 5 instances of chaos, putting them into a room, making them sound all of the same on the same beat for a period of time.
So thank you. Thank you for reiterating that, because that's exactly what I'm saying. So that's a perfect example of what I'm saying about how artists live on the fringe. We live on the border of chaos, and we bring order to chaos. And you can see that by just trying to have a band. You're bringing 4 individual people who really don't have anything to do with each other. Okay. I mean, outside in society, it's like you don't come across each other. And then you're going to bring these 4 different personalities into a band, and you're going to try to create order out of that. That is exactly. I mean, and the thing about artists is that we're doing that on all of the multidimensional levels.
Yeah.
We're doing it on all levels. We're not only are we like organizing our band, but we've organized. We've written songs, so we've literally created something out of nothing. Like, okay, let me create something out of the abstract first. So there's the order for you guys to have songs. Now we have songs. Now we have to put ourselves together so you guys can play my songs. So that's a whole nother substructure of organization. And then you have to, I'm going to start making phone calls. I'm going to get us some gigs, and I'm going to be able to get people to allow us to come on stage and play for them. And that's a whole nother substructure to organization. And that's what you just keep stacking that on top. And it's insane. It's insane. And every once in a while I have to sit here and go, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
This is the hardest thing I could possibly conceptualize doing. Why am I doing this? This is insane. But it's like, well, that's why you do it.
Yeah.
You do it because you basically tried to come up with a conception that was the hardest thing you could possibly conceptualize doing and being successful in. And you're not giving up. And that is like, you have to take stock of that every once in a while. Because then you have to, because you're just answering the question, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself that. Like, what is your motivation? Like, why are you doing this? It's like, well, are you doing it for money? No, obviously not. You know, it's like, I do this because it's really, it's, maybe it's just in my DNA now. It's just in the blood. And it's like, I have to do this, because if I don't do this, like, I'll literally just wither. I'll wither away.
That's when the depression really hits. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, if I didn't have this podcast as an outlet for my day job, I would be in sensory overload by now.
Yeah.
Because I need a place to have conversations that I can't have at work.
Dude, it's the video journal, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I had to start doing it too, because I'm like, the first time I did it, I was extremely cathartic.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how much I just felt like I got through a therapy session and like just got all this shit off my chest. And like, I don't know, I think, 50 people saw it, and it's like, I don't care.
I don't care.
I do not care about the numbers. Like 50 people saw it. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. And it's that microcosmic kind of mindset. It's the micro mindset that I think keeps us happy and in gratitude. Because if you can be, and I'm not talking about being delusional. I'm not saying like, oh, you got 50 views, like, oh, you're some awesome guy. But if you can be grateful for the small amount, like, because here's the thing, you started. Most people can't even start.
Yes. And
there's something to be said for it. And then once you've started, you can't sit there and start beating yourself up because your numbers are low. It's like, dude, this is how you start.
Yeah.
And then but be grateful for the micro things that come through. I got a check from CD Baby like 3 or 4 months ago. That's my online distribution company for my music.
Yeah.
And so Apple iTunes, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I get a $20 check from them about 4 months ago. And I was just so stoked. I had to put it on my podcast. And I was like, look, guys, $20 check, man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know that like we can all sit here and laugh at that. Like that's some kind of a joke.
No.
But I'm like, I'm doing this because I'm showing you guys this because I want you guys making sure that you're getting your little measly $20 checks too. Because you start somewhere. And that's all in throughout the globe. The stuff is happening. People are listening to my music. I have no idea. And it's like, if you know anything about streaming, it takes a lot of streams to make $20.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a ton of streams.
Yeah.
So being grateful and having gratitude for your micro successes is actually, I think, how you get to be a musician and you can still have a healthy life because, you know, once you've reached a point of, once you've reached that goal, whatever the goal is, maybe the goal is getting famous and rich. Okay. Now where do you go? You know where you go? You go down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you know what you're seeking now?
You can't stay true to yourself.
Now it's not money and fame that you're seeking. Now you're seeking human experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you value human experience. Guess where you're going to find human experience? You know, you're going to probably go down some dark roads.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Just to get that kick.
Yeah.
And so, to me, if you're coming from a micro mindset, all you have in front of you is never-ending potential and growth. And I kind of look at it like the way that Socrates describes wisdom.
Yeah.
Wisdom is the horizon. You never get to the horizon, but you move towards it. You should be moving towards it. And so that's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah.
You know.
And we don't have the space or the room to have these sort of long form conversations anymore. And if 5 people listen and get something out of this, that's all I need.
That's it.
Because like we're not having these conversations in the media. We're not having these conversations out in the open.
Yeah.
So if we can have actual conversations about what's really going on with real people, and you change the lives of 2 or 3 people, that's worth it.
Yeah, man,
that's worth it.
I look at it as like, I don't ever want to get to the destination because I'm going to be bored.
Yeah.
Now, like that.
Yeah.
Like, no way, man. Like, I want a path that I like wisdom. Like you never get there. But you constantly move towards it.
Yeah.
You know.
And when you leave yourself open for that too, like the possibilities are endless. Like if you would have asked me last year if I was going to Vegas in June to see a friend in an Irish band, I would have said probably not. No, hell yeah, I'm going to see Sean Daly and the Shams in Vegas in June. Why not? Because like, what kind of experience, like how often do you get invited to something like that?
Right.
Like for me, never.
Yeah.
So now, like, you have people like inviting me somewhere, like
that's it.
Yeah.
The way that the opportunities, the doors will start to open, And I mean, to me, I did like an independent record label contract one time.
Yeah.
That was such a mistake. I mean, it was a mistake.
Did it kind of put limits on you what you could do and all that stuff, or?
No, but it just they could not really they couldn't really deliver anything that I couldn't do myself.
Yeah.
And not only that, but the production value.
Yeah.
I didn't care much for the production value after it was all said and done.
Because at the end of the day, the only person who cares the most about you and your success is you. And
That's it.
even if somebody comes at you with like a record contract and all that stuff, it's still like, what can you do for me?
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime you think that somebody is like, oh, this person's out there to help me, it's like,
It's rare.
Have you really done your research on this
It's
person,
rare.
man? Like,
Yeah.
You know, not everybody is a Timber Blakely.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's hard to do this business and have a good heart.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
If you're trying to actually help people and help other artists, you know, you really have to be coming from a place of like, I really do want to help people. And because there's really nothing to be gained financially off of somebody who ain't making any money either.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, and that just seems to be like they're I think the shady characters that are kind of trying to prey on other people's talents, I think that has really, it's gone away quite a
Oh,
bit.
that's good.
But it's still out there.
Yeah.
I mean, just
Especially as the higher up you get with the record labels.
dude,
The record labels
the
are
more
pretty
money you're making,
cutthroat.
guess what you're attracting to yourself? Parasites.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Parasitic yes men. Even worse.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I go out of my way to make sure that people know that that's not me, right? Like I have a couple of really good friends that try to give me free stuff all the time. I'm like, no, like I'm paying my fair share. I'm in this because I love you and support you. I know you're so used to the parasites that are here pretending to be your friend and wanting to siphon off of you. I'm not that guy.
And something else that because I literally just did my last podcast was on sales.
Yeah.
I was talking about some sales tactics, and that's something else that, you know, musicians are really bad about. We're really good at devaluing ourselves.
Oh yeah, I'm guilty of that.
We are really good at it, man. I mean, our negotiation skills
Terrible.
terrible.
Yeah,
They're
terrible.
just absolutely terrible. But here's the thing. It's hard to be a negotiator and have and be agreeable. If you're an agreeable person, you're not going to be able to negotiate. It actually takes disagreeability because you have to say no. You have to say no. You have to be assertive. You know, you can be professional, you can be kind. But one thing that I would say is that if you think that you're going to go into a business meeting winning everybody over with your empathy and compassion, no. And
As a matter of fact, they'll take advantage of that.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, and that's what musicians and artists do. We open ourselves to that world of pain and hurt because we are agreeable. We're open. We are open. We like people. We're open to experiences. And they know that.
Yeah.
And they'll go, oh man, all I got to do is like give this guy a little bit of validation. And he's like, you know,
Yeah.
I'll sign anything you want me to.
Yeah.
And it's so sad, man, because it's like you guys, we got to get tougher, man. We got to get good. We got to get way better at negotiating, you know, and it's hard. It's hard because you don't want to ever alienate a place who's been really good to you and then go in there and be like, hey, you guys, we need to, you know, you guys are going to have to up the ante a little bit, and nobody's gonna cut themselves off at the knees and try to extort the club for an extra $100, and
Right.
and you might be risking losing the entire gig. You're not going to do that, and I understand that we shouldn't be doing that, but we got to start getting creative and start being better business people. And it takes creativity. There are some win-win situations that you can work with a club, but it takes being just as creative as you are in your songwriting. You have to be creative on the business front, and that's really hard for people because you have to come up with win-win situations. Anytime somebody feels like they have to sell somebody on an idea, it's like, well, the reason why you feel like you have to sell somebody on that idea is because this is a one-way situation. You are trying to pull one over. This you haven't built a two-way road.
Yeah.
This has to be a win-win. So when you're coming off and you're trying to sell somebody, you're trying to make it a win situation for you. And people see right through that shit, man. They see right through it. But if you're creative, maybe you can do something like, you work a deal with the place, for example, and feel free to take this idea, you guys. I don't care. Because I'm probably going to use the idea myself. One thing I've been thinking about is we play at bars.
Yeah.
So shot glasses. Make shot glasses. You got a nice little logo, make some shot glasses. You can get them down to about, I think you can get them down to about, maybe $2 a piece, maybe just under $2 a piece.
Okay.
And I think you can get them I think I was looking at them. I want to say $2 on one of these sites. Maybe you can work some kind of a deal, because here's the thing: the bar isn't going to want to give you a piece of their alcohol sales.
Yeah. Although,
and you shouldn't want.
Last night I was watching the Nicky Jones band play for the Rock Recovery Center in Salem, and at the Grand Theater, they gave them a percentage of the concession sales.
Wow, that's like unheard of.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very nice of them.
Yeah.
Well, they're good people,
right?
But what I was going to say is, if you can maybe, with your merchandise, because you got to be thinking merchandise. Like if they're giving you a platform, and you got the stage, and you got the minimum guarantee, now it's your job to upsell. Right?
Yeah.
Now you have a base. Maybe, okay, we got a guarantee of $400. Okay, let's make sure we got our merchandise person there. T-shirts, CDs. I don't care if CDs are,
the kind
passe. They're not really.
Yeah.
They're real. I mean, look, man, people have to be able to see your product in a tangible form. I'm sorry.
In whatever way that is, it has to be. Yeah.
You might sell more T-shirts. Fine.
I'm wondering if you could put music on a flash drive these days.
Oh yeah. I mean, people
just hand out a flash drive instead of a CD.
Yeah, people do that all the time. Yeah, they've got like cool little cards, USB cards. I mean, all kinds of cool merchandise stuff. Well, one thing that I was just thinking is just recently is, well, I play at these bars. Maybe we could actually create a win-win situation. We'll make shot glasses. We'll sell them. We'll try to sell them for $5, right?
Yeah.
So that way you get at least a 150% profit margin on them. Okay. And maybe the place will,
give you a free shot.
Sell them along with a shot.
Yeah.
Maybe work out some kind of a cool win-win situation. That's why it takes creativity, man. Like, there are no rules. So make some rules. Make some deals. Think outside the box. And then maybe they can, not only like are you moving shot glasses, but you're doing it in bulk. So I'm just saying, there's so many ways to skin a cat, and I haven't quite thought this process out myself. I'm just kind of spitballing, but these are the things that I tend to think about. It's like, we're in a bar, so if we're giving people incentive because, I want to buy that shot glass, well, guess what? You just gave them, well, now they have to go fill it up with a liquor from the bar. So now you're actually helping sell booze. Now you're actually moving more liquor, and that's what you should be doing. If your band is worth its weight in gold, the bar should be seeing a good increase. If they took the records from last year on the same date and looked at the records and they looked at today's, they're going to go, wow, that was a major increase.
Or if they have like a specialty drink. Yeah.
But you know what that takes? It actually takes some humility and some care. You actually have to care about the place you're playing for and go, how can I actually help them? And by helping them, that could actually help me.
Yeah.
See, that's a win-win because, first of all, they're not going to want to give you any other cells.
No.
And OLCC wise, like, it's probably not really legal. So this way you can sell your little product, but it's this hand feeding this hand. It's like, oh, well, we'll sell you this little product. Now you got to go fill it up. And so there's just so many ways we can create win-win situations to increase our average pay scale. So if you get a baseline pay of $400 or $500, then oh wow, well we just like sold $100 worth of shot glasses and $100 worth of T-shirts, and wow, you just turned a $400 gig into a $600 gig. That's how you do it.
Yeah.
And you gotta be the person to think of everything. Nobody's gonna think of this stuff for you. Nobody's just going to do this stuff for you. Nobody cares about you making more money at a gig. That's your job. It's your job to upsell. So that's ultimately, man, I really just want musicians to stay healthy and safe from parasitic people. And so the fact that your whole thing is really about community and basically just good people trying to be good people.
Yeah. It has to be. Like otherwise, it breaks my autistic brain. Like my biggest fear in this podcast is I'm going to promote somebody that is a terrible human being.
Oh.
That's my biggest fear.
Yeah.
And so I do take a lot of care in researching and getting like an opinion of 4 or 5 people before I interview somebody. Because and if somebody like a Timmer goes, yeah, this guy's legit, I'm going to take him at face word. Come on. Yeah. But it's because like the world in itself, especially in this country, we have a tendency to reward bad behavior.
Yeah, that is the music industry.
Yeah.
In fact, I even heard Satriani say that in an interview. He said, especially in this game, but in most fields, good behavior rarely goes rewarded, is what he said, verbatim. And that was like, oh yeah. And that's why, bands like Marilyn Manson have done so well, because that he was smart enough to market off of bad behavior. Most bands are like that. Alice Cooper,
Yeah.
I mean, it's about.
But even with Alice Cooper, right? Alice Cooper, he has that theatrical, but he's the sweetest, most like nicest dude on the planet.
I think that I think that he really understood the line of chaos and order really well. Because I didn't think there's anything that's super unhealthy about his theatrical show.
Yeah.
Now Marilyn Manson kind of scares the crap out of me.
100%.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, but horror, I would say horror film theatrics can be fun and not terrifying. There's an element of Satanism that comes into it where I start going, okay, this is just dark, man.
And that's the difference between like a band like Slipknot and a band like Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, and the musicians for Slipknot they're amazing, dude. But I just think it's like, for me, it's just going down too much of a dark road, I think, and I don't know, but
at least with Slipknot, it's theatrical.
Yes, it is theatrical.
With Marilyn Manson, I almost felt like he kind of leaned into that on a personal level, and that's what scared me most about him.
Yeah, it's like there's just some of that stuff that's so damn dark.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, that's really not why I do music.
No.
I find the beauty in music.
Mm-hmm.
I like the beauty of music. That's why, again, this is why he's on the wall. You know, Satriani is probably my biggest guitar hero.
Yeah.
But you know, even Satriani, man, I would never put like his picture on my wall. For one, Joe is just way too humble.
Yeah.
You know, that's not his bag, man.
Yeah.
And he would be the first one to tell you that don't put me on the wall, put my hero on the wall. And so there's, again, it's like the hierarchy has to be structured properly in order for it to work.
Yeah.
And even my heroes have a hero. And so that's, you got to pay attention to who is the hero of your heroes.
Yeah.
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 And I can appreciate that, you know, because like musically, my hero will always be Maynard James Keenan.
That's cool. I like it.
Yeah. Like I read his book, and
smart.
if you read I read his book, and like the similar parallels between his life and mine, outside of course is the music and the fame, was pretty wild. Like I lost my mom to an aneurysm when I was 10, and his mom had an aneurysm that left her paralyzed, I think around that same age. And so like there's a lot of similarities in his story about joining the military, because he was a veteran too. Yeah. He was a veteran, and he was actually going to be an officer. Yeah, he was enlisted, was going to be an officer, and I can't remember. It's been so long since I read the book, but yeah,
that's incredible.
Fascinating story.
Yeah,
fascinating story.
I've always been fascinated by him because he's a formidable guy.
Yeah,
he's not messing around.
No,
and he's not somebody you want to mess with.
No, no,
at all.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, it's guys like him are just so they're really rare. But I appreciate he comes off guarded, and I appreciate that because it's like that's how you make it. That's how you make it.
Yeah.
That's how you become as big as him and are able to manage it.
Well, and that's also how you know,
you
like,
have to be a formidable son of a bitch.
Like
James Brown wasn't a nice guy.
Yeah.
But James Brown is probably one of the most revered men. I mean,
one of the most known.
Funk.
Yeah, and also like one of the most well-known funk musicians on the planet. Just like you see a picture and you know it's him.
Yeah, man.
Just right off. That's James.
That dude was absolutely formidable. He was. I mean, I know people are like, "Oh, he was a tyrant." It's like, yeah, you come from that background. You come from his background, and you show me how freaking weak you are. I mean, I'm sorry, man. That dude went through the fire.
The life and death fire of racism in a time when it was life or death.
But you know what was so cool about him and Jimmy? 101st Airborne Paratrooper.
Yeah.
So, veteran.
Yeah.
You know, the cool thing about James is that he was an absolute patriot.
Yeah.
He was an absolute patriot, man.
Loved this country more than anything else.
This country.
I
mean,
he bled red, white, and blue.
Yeah, dude. Because he understood the American dream, because he really lived it. He was the embodiment of the American dream. I mean, you watch that movie, man, and it's like, oh my God! Like I knew he came from destitute, but I didn't understand the level that I didn't know that he was raised in a brothel.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. All the things that he saw along the way. And like you were saying, like at a time when he was so famous that I can only imagine the level of parasites heading his way.
But
And
he
like,
was a tough son of a bitch.
you kind of had to.
They couldn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, the manager that he got was James was just too disagreeable. He wasn't going to be pushed around by anybody, man. And honestly, it's like,
well, and he kind of earned that right.
And if I had one message for musicians, it's like, you guys get a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
We don't have to act like tyrants and psychopaths or anything like that. But if you think that you're going to navigate this music world by being some overly agreeable guy, you ever go into like a pot store and you got the bud tender there who's so overly patronizingly nice that you're just like, it's annoying.
If it's fake.
It comes.
Yeah.
Well, it comes. Yeah. I mean, when it just comes off overly like, "Hey, bro. Hey, what's up, man? What can I do for you? How's your day going?" It's like, dude, I need you to turn the energy down because, like, honestly, I'm kind of like, I don't really like you right now because, like, you're overly patronizing me. Like, you don't have to infantize me. Just talk to me like a person.
Yeah.
You know, and because that's where the value is. It's like don't put me on some weird pedestal, man. Like, it's just weird. Like, you don't have to sell me on the product. I know what the product is. I'm here because I want that product.
Yeah.
You don't have to keep talking. You don't have to be so nice and agreeable. That's not a sales tactic. It's actually the opposite of.
I see what you're getting at. Yeah.
Because nobody wants to buy anything from like, look, you can't sell anybody on anything, first of all.
Right.
You think that you can pull some Jedi mind trick.
Good luck.
That's the car salesman, snake oil salesman tactic. It doesn't work. Like, you're really underestimating your audience at that point. You got to treat people like they are. In fact, treat people like they're smarter than you.
That's a good way to live life.
That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
When you're doing sales, treat them like they're smarter than you. And you need to ask questions. You need to find out what their needs are. You can't sell anybody anything if you don't know what their needs are.
Right.
And you got to ask questions in order to do that. And one thing that doesn't sell is overly agreeable, nice. People are actually repelled by it because they think it actually reeks of desperation.
It's that toxic positivity.
Yeah. It's like totally pathological, man.
Yeah.
And it's patronizing, it's infantizing, and really, people will buy something from you, for one, if they actually think you have a product that they actually need or want. So you got to let the product speak for itself.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you let a product speak for itself when you're always talking?
Right. Yeah.
So, it's like, dude, if you're going to be in sales, you have to know when to shut up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you ask a question and then you let the person talk.
And
you listen.
Listen to what they're saying.
Yeah.
Don't listen to respond.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you can ask a question on top of their question, because if they're giving you a no, you're like, okay, well, what, blah, blah, and then they give you, well, this is why. Then you can go, oh, so are you saying that you would actually buy this product if this and this were
solved?
If I was able to solve this problem, that, well, actually, yeah, I guess, yeah, I could, yeah, that's actually, so, yeah, you solve whatever their problem is, but you have to ask a question on top of their question sometimes.
Yeah, because then it's a value add as opposed to an addition.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the problem that I have with musicians is that they can't sell anything because they're not gaining anybody's respect. And you know how you gain people's respect? Sometimes you got to be James Brown.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to put on that tough exterior and let people know that you're not a fucking pushover and that you're not stupid. Now, you have to be very careful about how you do that, because it's very easy to look arrogant and narcissistic.
Yeah.
So again, there's the fine line between chaos and order, right? Like, how do I be formidable and not narcissistic.
Yeah.
So everything is a dance, you know, in this game.
And I would say if you're at a part of a band and you have one band member who has that particular skill set, let that band member do the negotiating piece.
Amen.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a great piece about leadership.
Yeah.
Know your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
Dude, if you know that, like for me, some of my personal weaknesses are the technology thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still just it's an annoying learning curve, but I am, you know, I'm tackling it. I don't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I would love nothing more than to delegate that. But there's also just like other weaknesses, like you know, if I feel like Erin, the keyboard player, she's very extrovert and she's good with people.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little you know, she'll be guilty of TMI, but
Yeah.
she's very extrovert. So I know that I can like delegate certain things to her, like, oh hey, could you go over to that table and like ask, just kind of like let you know, they keep looking over here, like they've been very, you know, they've been here all night. Can you go over there and just say hi to them and you know, maybe ask them to subscribe, and she'll go do it.
Yeah.
She'll go do it. I'm like, that's a strength. That's a strength of hers. And if I don't really want to, you know, because maybe I'm just like focused on something else, and I'm just like, hey, you know, so really just knowing like what other people's strengths are, you know, utilizing people and delegating those responsibilities to people in a way where it's like, you know, they don't feel like you're telling them what to do, but they actually they go over there, they try it, they come back, and they're like, hey, that actually worked, and then they actually feel good about it. It's like that's awesome, you know. It's like there's a sense of empowerment, you know.
Yeah, like that with the podcast here, like I delegate all of my scheduling to my producer.
That's great.
Because I was struggling with scheduling.
Yeah.
I can't, like, dates and timelines and planning, that's not my skill set. That's not how my brain works.
Right.
And so now that I have Amy that is able to do the scheduling piece of it,
Yeah.
and what did it cost me? 50-50.
That's cool.
50-50. We're partners in this. If we make money, you make money. We're 50-50. Ride or die.
And there's the incentive.
Yeah.
Now there's incentive.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I mean, I get it. When you're making, you know, when you're making nothing, you know, 50-50 of nothing is still nothing. But that's not the way to look at it.
No.
The way to look at it is that this is untapped potential.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now we're both invested.
Mm-hmm.
So we're both going to be pushing. And that's the problem with band members, is that you got to have guys that really are trying to be invested into it, because if they feel like, well, you're just another band out of 5 in their lives, it's like, okay, like where do I really sit on the bench in your life?
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find out I'm down at the end, I'm gonna be really pissed, dude. I'm gonna be really not happy. But I kind of feeling like I might be last on your bench.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know, it's you can't have sabotagers. You can't have people that are like really just not real, like they're really just not on the same page. They're not on the same.
I need you to be
goal.
in it to win it.
Yeah, they're not. They don't have the same goals. They're it's all transactional, man. They maybe they like the music. Maybe they like, you know, they like the fact that they feel good and sound good when they're playing with you, and you know, you got a good thing.
Yeah.
But they just kind of come in parasitical like that, you know, just, you know, I don't really have to do much. And the cool thing is, like, he doesn't really hold me accountable for rehearsing. And so basically I have no responsibility, no accountability. And then I can just swing in, look like a rock star, get paid, leave. And it's like, I don't know about that. I want to work with friends. I don't want to work with transactional people, dude. I actually want to have some friends in this game.
Yeah.
You got to spend too much time with each other. And if you're going on the road with each other, it's like,
You have to like each other.
dude, it's all about the hang.
Yeah.
I really do. I actually feel that
Yeah.
that as soon as the hang goes away, that the music and the money will not ever just
Mm-hmm. Like I go to the Nicky Jones band practice just about 2 or 3 times a month.
Cool.
Um, and like people will ask me, like, don't you ever get tired of it? Because it's the same thing they practice. Like, no, dude, I've been listening to the same Tool album over and over again for the last 25 years. Once I have something that my autistic brain really loves, I can listen to the same thing over and over and over again and repeat. And so the fact that I get to be a part of the show and just sort of watch how the sauce is made was like the biggest honor that I've ever had. It's like, you want to come to practice? Like, hell yeah, I'm coming to practice. Like, I want to see that because like I appreciate music more when you see the imperfections before all the practice pays off.
Yeah.
Like when a band like starts a first song for the first time and they're not quite right, I think that's more beautiful than when they get it right. I think it's like awesome. It's like to see the journey. It just like, because it's, you can't experience that anywhere else.
Yeah. You really are. You're right about that.
Yeah.
There is something that's
Magical.
There's something so cool about writing a new song.
Yeah.
There's this, and it really is. There's this. It's like the journey of it. The fact that, like, when I start writing a new song, there'll be basically like one riff, just like maybe just one little seed of a riff, and it's like when you hear it, you're like, oh, that's a song. Like, that's literally like the skeleton of something really cool. And then from that seed, you keep playing that thing over and over and over. So there's you have to have the capability to do something so repetitive, so tediously repetitive. It takes a hyper-focused mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what happens with me is I get that seed, and then as I'm playing it over and over and over, it literally starts to just kind of take different shape, and then other little things start kind of popping out of it, and then starts kind of maybe gravitates it towards another change that just kind of like oh shit, wait, now I have 2 parts that are like fitting together really nice, and these things, they just keep evolving out of just the repetition, the repeating, and then this riff, it just kind of starts to evolve, and it evolves right in front of your face. And so from the moment that you started the seed, and then that grew into a second riff, by the time you're done, because what happens to me, I get completely possessed. Like if I'm onto something, like I won't put it down. I obsess. It's like, because I have the ability to be repetitive to a point where I don't quite get sick of it. And then I'll put it down, I'll walk away, I come back, and something else grows out of it. And it's like, whoa, man, this thing just keeps. So by the end of the day, you're sitting on like almost a completed song. And you're sitting there going, how the hell did I do that? Like, it was just so organic. It's like you actually feel that the frickin' song wrote itself.
Yeah.
That is an odd thing. Because what you're doing is you're actually using your ear, and you're literally pulling the notes out from the abstract, from the ether, and you're going, I think it needs to go. Wait, where's that? Because you can hear actually where that thing needs to go before you even know, like, wait, what is it? Oh, that's the 5. That is the 5 chord. Oh, okay. But it's like these ideas, they'll evolve, and they'll actually, what I think is that they start writing themselves, because there's a certain order or something that strikes your ear, and then what you do is you start matching what you're hearing in your head. That's trippy. That is a phenomenon.
That's trippy.
It's a phenomenon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know how else to explain it, but it's a phenomenon, and it's a living, breathing thing that's literally being like birthed in front of you, and you're just going like, wait, I am doing this, but wait a second, like I'm hearing stuff in my head first, and then I'm matching that, and then I'm sitting there going, oh my god, this is like a song. And like part of me feels like I did this, but part of me knows I didn't do this.
Because there's a piece of muse out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like all of a sudden you can hear it in your head. And it's a phenomenal, phenomenology, right?
Yeah.
Is that
I think that's right. Yeah.
But it really is weird. And so as a writer, when you have those kinds of experiences, I have a really hard time rejecting the idea that there's a divine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, it's like, if I'm going to deny that, then I have to deny the song that I just wrote.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't recognize this song as a song if I have to not recognize the divine that helped me create this.
Yeah.
So again, that's just a weird personal journey. That's just a weird personal thing. Because to me, it kind of solidifies this idea that, like, wow, there really is a cosmic structure. There is a cosmic order going on that's just so damn beyond me, but yet I'm part of it. And I can also, if I'm open enough, I can actually like hear it, or it you can become that conduit of creativity. But I think that it's really arrogant for me to go, well, I wrote that song. It's like, well, actually, I think what happened is you heard the song.
Yeah.
And then you emulated the song that you heard. And you're emulating, as you're kind of going down this rabbit hole, you're emulating the chord that you think is the right chord in your head, and then so are you really writing anything? Because where's that coming from?
Yeah.
Because how can it be you that's coming from you when you're even sitting there going, how am I hearing this? Like, that's not you.
Yeah.
It's not you, dude. So it's like to deny the maker, right, is to deny yourself. So like, well, I can't even. I have to deny that whole song as a song, like, because if you're going to deny the other participant, it's a bit of a working relationship there, man. It's like
almost like a give and take. You have to, yeah.
Yeah, well, you got to be open enough to be able to hear, like,
yeah.
Wait, where should that go?
Mm-hmm. And if you're not open and you're not sort of manifesting out there, there's no way you're going to hear it to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it will just be like a seed. It'll just be like I'll pick the guitar up and I'll just, like, the first thing that comes out is like just some riff, and it's like, whoa, well, that was cool.
Yeah.
Oh, what was that? And again, I didn't create that by thinking. It was actually the opposite of. I literally wasn't thinking at all. And it just, like, my hand and some deep part of my brain that I don't understand, did that. And it's like, oh, that actually was cool. If I actually thought about what I was doing, I never would have come up with that.
Yeah.
I'd be like forcing my hands to do what I want them to do. And
and if you overthink it, you're actually shutting yourself off to the muse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, what is that?
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously something transcendent about art and music. There's something transcendent about it. The transcendent it's imminent, obviously, and it's not, again, man, I've been living in Oregon a long time. Not trying to sound like too much of a hippie. I'm actually somewhat conservative for an artist, but that's just because of my business side. That's like I've got a business mind and I got the creative mind, and I definitely jumble them together. But I'm not like super big into like the idea that all you have to do to manifest something is like think about it, say it, and then put it out in the universe, and then it'll happen. That's part of it.
You still need to do the work.
I mean, come on, man. And again, like
success doesn't come in a vacuum.
Yeah, and I'm not here to like throw a bunch of biblical quotes out, but faith without works is dead, bro.
Yeah.
So it's like there you go.
Yeah.
Now, I do believe that you can manifest. I've manifested lots in my life.
Yeah.
It starts as a thought, and then you say it, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like the podcast.
Yeah.
I thought, I was like, I should do a podcast, and I said it. Okay, well, I had to say it like a bunch of times for like 2 years before I actually did it. So I'm sorry, but if I had never done it, talking about it isn't gonna manifest anything.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to manifesting, and you can manifest good things in your life, but yeah, it always comes down to doing.
Yeah.
It always comes down to doing, but also aligning yourself properly, with your heart and your words.
100%. Authenticity is the biggest thing.
Yeah, you have to be aligned with your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, I want to align myself with obviously something higher than me.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise, you become your own king, you become your own Pharisee.
And Jesse, we've been at this well over an hour.
Yeah, dude.
So I think this
is awesome, bro.
I think this is a good place to put a pin on it.
Man.
So,
and dude,
let's do this again.
You're like a good friend of mine now. I love you, buddy.
No kidding, right? Yep.
Yeah,
As the microphone falls off, so I guess the microphone is doing its drop moment.
Well, cheers, you guys, and thank you, and
And I'll close by saying what I always say: be kind, people. Just treat people like people. You have no idea what they've gone through to get to this moment, and if you can be kind, it will go a long way.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Cheers. That was great. That was great, buddy.